If you want bigger triceps, you need this video. A lot of people train their triceps, but they don't always do it correctly and they run into issues. So here are 3 tweaks that you can make to common triceps building exercises that will lead to better muscle growth and healthier elbows. The first adjustment we're gonna make is gonna be directly with dips. Dips are easily one of the top movements you can do to not only build your triceps, but also your anterior delts and your chest. But the way that you perform the exercise plays a big role in terms of what muscles you're gonna bias towards. As an example, when you're doing a dip and you're focused on leaning forward a little bit more and your weight is also shifted forward with your legs, then you're gonna bias directly towards your chest. However, if we wanna bias an exercise directly towards our triceps, we wanna keep more of a vertical torso and create more tension directly on the triceps all the way through. Here's a quick difference between the 2 variations. Okay, in this first set, I'm gonna bias the dips directly towards my chest. You'll be able to notice my leg position a little bit, and you'll notice that I'm leaning forward more. Again, this is a way to focus on your chest a little bit when you're doing a dip. Doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. It really depends on whatever you're trying to focus on. So if your focus is on chest, this is a great version. But if you want to be able to do dips, then pay attention to the second one. So legs forward, and now I'm actually going to lean forward as I do my dip. That variation would be biased more directly towards my chest. Conversely, if I'm straight up and down, then we're gonna bias it directly towards the tricep. So look at my lower body position here. And you can tell upper body, same deal, not leaning forward. So there you have it. Very simple adjustments with the way that you perform your dip play a big role in terms of what muscles you're gonna bias towards. Now, one other consideration when it comes to doing your dips, depth. If we want to be able to put the maximum amount of growth directly on the tricep, we're gonna get past 90 degrees of flexion when it comes to the dip. Downside, dips have a tendency to chew up shoulders and spit out PT bills. So go to the depth that you can control that does not cause any pain or dysfunction. For a lot of people, it's gonna be right around 90 degrees. If you can go deeper, that is gonna put more of a stretch directly on the triceps through the movement, which is then therefore going to create a harder contraction on the back end for a better muscle building stimulus. Now, dips are one of those exercises that is a staple for me in my training. I will hit multiple sets of 6, 8, 10 reps, depending on what particular split I'm following at any given time. But I tend to do this as a secondary movement after a bench press variation. One interesting note, I've found that as I've gotten older, as I've trained longer, I have to be careful with how I do plan dips into the rest of my workout. So what I won't do is I won't push dips heavy with lower set reps if I'm also pushing a barbell bench heavy. It's kind of a one or the other. So it's like I can either bench heavy or I can do dips heavy. If I do both, it just tends to be a little bit more than my body can recover from. All right, next exercise is a dumbbell overhead tricep extension. This is a movement that a lot of people do with different degrees of correctness. Now, one way that you can do this is you can step forward, have a huge forward lean, and allow your elbows to drift back, and then the press comes a lot more in front of the body versus over the top. This is what I commonly see. It's people trying to lift more weight than it can really handle, and so let the elbows drift back here, and then the movement starts to come forward. And a lot of times what we see here is we start to see, if you watch my shoulders and my torso, we start to see a little bit of flexion coming forward. And that's simply because, one, a lack of core stability in this position and using more weight than an individual really can handle when it comes to the overhead tricep extension. So a better way to do this exercise is to actually lower the functional trainer or whatever you're using to train, and then often lower the weight, step forward, and then what we're gonna do is we have a lot more of a vertical position here. So look at the difference in terms of the weight path. And in many instances, we actually get a better stretch through the triceps here and a better contraction, especially at end range, because you're in a much more stable position all the way through the exercise, and you're not using a bunch of body language just to get it into the right spot. So a very simple adjustment. Simply lower down the functional trainer and get it so your extension is coming a bit more over the top instead of leaning forward and pressing out in front of you. Final exercise here, the California press. Why it's called the California press? I don't know, maybe it's fucking from California, like half of everything else in bodybuilding. But regardless, even if I don't get the name, I do get the exercise, and it's one you should definitely add. This exercise is kind of a cross between a close grip bench press and a skull crusher. I find that it's a better exercise than a skull crusher in terms of, frankly, hammering my triceps without leading to any shoulder pain or elbow pain or discomfort. And compared to a close grip bench press, I find that to be a fairly redundant exercise anyway. I feel most people do pretty well with their hands about shoulder width on a bench press. And if they go much more narrow than that, they tend to actually run into issues both with strength, but also wrist and elbow pain. So I really prefer the California press as an isolation exercise to really get some great extension through your elbow. So the California press is one you can typically go fairly heavy because we have some of a crossover movement between a close grip bench press and a skull crusher. So a skull crusher, your elbows would be right here, and then we're coming straight back, and voila, crushing my dome. A California press is a little bit different, and I might even have to get rid of the weights to show you here, but my elbows are gonna kind of drop forward like I would be doing a bench press. And if you look at the stretch that is in my elbows, look at all that flexion. When we have that much flexion through a joint, those muscles are on stretch and a great contraction for my triceps. Here's what it looks like without weight. Here's a skull crusher by comparison. And now with the California press, elbows are kind of initiating down. And then we're coming all the way kind of towards the collarbone, upper chest, and extend. So huge stretch in the triceps, press. So with the California press, you can use this as a replacement of something like a skull crusher. I find 8, 10, 12 reps kind of in that scheme tends to be a little bit best. Think of like 4 by 10 at the end of a workout, a great way to burn out your triceps and do so in a way that's gonna be a little bit more joint friendly than a skull crusher. So look, if you wanna build your triceps, you need to be able to have exercises that are both gonna take care of your elbows, but also create plenty of mechanical tension and metabolic stress in order to build that tissue. And these simple adjustments directly to your dips, getting more vertical in terms of your torso angle. When it comes to your overhead extension, actually staying overhead and not pulling out directly in front of your torso, and then using the California press instead of a skull crusher, you can build great triceps without living in the gym. Now, if you want my favorite arm building tips, all put together in one workout, easy to follow and fully video guided, all you have to do, go to the description box below, bachperformance.com/arms. Show you everything that you need to do in order to build big biceps, big triceps, and of course, look great naked without living in the gym. And of course, if you had value directly from this video, please drop us a comment and share it on your favorite social media platform so we can continue bringing this great content for free.
Did you find this helpful? If so, pound that like button and hit subscribe. Now, if you want a free copy of our Chiseled Muscle Cheat Sheet, the no BS way to help you lose body fat and build lean muscle in 90 days, make sure that you go to the description below and download your free copy. Any questions? Drop them in the comments, and can't wait to see you with the next video.